The very reason China has to be so repressive is because nobody would voluntarily choose to live under communism if they were given the choice of freedom. This is something lost in these world discussions about various countries and their cultures. People don't want to live under communism. And all communism really is, it's a political system, but communism is the economic system of socialism with no way out. That's all communism is. It's a one-party state. It's socialism with guns. It's the economic system of socialism, the government's control of the economy, the government's control of industry. Communism is socialism with no way out, or socialism with guns. So, turning to the United States of America, what's happening here in our country, it's the most amazing thing. Here we're watching protesters in Hong Kong standing up for freedom, and at the same time, we're listening to Bernie Sanders and other Democrat socialists in this country turning to the idea, pushing socialism, a very popular idea, even in America's universities. And now I want to turn to the discussion of Oberlin. Oberlin College in Oberlin, Ohio. We talked about this a full week ago, I think it was, when, as a quick summary of the facts, in Oberlin, Ohio, which Oberlin College is the oldest continuously functioning co-ed college, a liberal arts college in America. It's amazing. It's a very old place, old university. It has surrendered to the radical leftism that many other colleges have surrendered to in this world. So Oberlin had an incident involving a student who went to, this is the quickest summary before I tell you the update on this, quickest summary, an Oberlin student went to a local bakery called Gibson's Bakery and Goods or something, but Gibson's Bakery, and in the bakery he attempted to buy a bottle of wine with a fake ID. So, he's not of age to buy wine, so he's got this fake ID. The guy behind the counter recognized, and this is a fake ID. Didn't let him do it. But he noticed that the student had tucked stolen bottles of wine into his coat. He was attempting to shoplift, to leave the store without paying for wine that he tucked into his coat. I think it was 2 bottles. So he calls attention to it. The student runs out, I guess drops the bottles on the ground, runs out. The store guy runs after him and catches up with him. Once the store guy catches up with the shoplifter, there were 2 other students, apparent accomplices of this one student, who were waiting outside the store when they realized that the store, it wasn't the owner, it was whoever the clerk was that day, had a hold of the student who was shoplifting. These other 2 students, who were the other students' accomplices, jumped on him. And so when the police arrived, the 3 students had the store clerk on the ground, on the sidewalk, punching him in the face. Police arrest all 3. These students later pled guilty to shoplifting and a bunch of other little charges. And they pled guilty to charges, including acknowledging that they were all shoplifting, they're all part of the effort, and included in their plea the statement that there was no racial profiling involved in their arrest. These 3 students happened to be black. But in between the time of the shoplifting and the time they were arrested, these students went back to Oberlin College and stirred up a hornet's nest in the college campus, essentially urging the Oberlin College community, the entire college, to engage in a massive boycotting of Gibson's Bakery. So they had protests outside Gibson's Bakery with signs, waving, this is racial profiling, racial discrimination, Gibson's engaged in racial profiling, blah, blah, blah. They put out notices all over campus urging other campus groups to get involved. The Student Senate voted on some idiotic denouncement about racial profiling by Gibson's, and then one college administrator, a person high up in the administration of Oberlin, actually got involved supporting the students, not just encouraging them to, protest if they thought that was right or something like that, but actually got involved agitating, encouraging the students to stand up against this Gibson's Bakery based on this completely false argument that Gibson's had engaged in racial discrimination by not letting some kids shoplift from them. And so this administrator is handing out, she's outside the store, not on the college campus, in town in Oberlin, handing out cards, encouraging people to be part part of the protest, boycott Gibson's Bakery. So last week, the jury came back with an award. So the Gibson's Bakery, the owned in 5 generations, same family, numerous plaintiffs, essentially the owners of the bakery, sued Oberlin, the college itself, because its administrator was engaged in this whole boycott against them. And the jury came back with an $11 million verdict against the school. Well, it was really against this administrator named Raimundo, but the entire school, the school had agreed to hold her harmless, so the school is going to pay whatever judgment is made against the woman. But here are the new facts since then. A lot of new facts, and it ties into our theme of socialism today. First, we talked about the case on last Monday. Tuesday, there was the punitive phase of the trial. The $11 million was actually considered actual damages. The punitive damage phase is referring to the idea that the jury could consider whether the conduct by the school was so egregious that it was worthy of punitive damages to punish the school for its bad behavior. The jury came back and said, yes, indeed, they are entitled to punitive damages, and awarded an additional $22 million against Oberlin. Part of what they sit with a huge verdict against them. They have pledged they're going to go forward. They may appeal. Who knows? But I want to just tell you some facts that tie into our theme of how bad socialism is. But first, a few more things about Oberlin. Number one, Oberlin tried to solve the problem, tried to reach out to Gibson's Bakery and essentially say, would you agree from now on that if any students commit shoplifting in your store, that you will just never call the police, just call the college. Let us deal with our students who are shoplifting in your store. Oberlin said, no. As a matter of fact, no. We're going to call the police because they are arrestable. They are adults. Number two, so Oberlin could not convince Gibson's Bakery to say, we'll just call you. Gibson's Bakery was willing to drop the whole thing. You have to get this fact. Willing to drop the whole thing if Oberlin would just put a letter out to their student body, their alumni, to all the people they've been complaining to about Gibson's, saying Gibson's did not commit racial profiling. Gibson's did not discriminate against these students because of race. That's what Gibson's wanted. They wanted their name cleared, and Oberlin College wouldn't do it. Now, folks, I got to tell you, the people at Oberlin making these decisions, they had to know at some point in the course of this litigation that the students did exactly what Gibson's Bakery said they did. They shoplifted. They tried to steal wine, and they're willing to physically assault the store clerk who chases the guy out of the store. But Oberlin College was so much on their high horse, so defensive of this, of these students, they would not settle the case. But here's what I want to tell you a little bit about how this ties in to socialism and understanding what Oberlin College is really all about. Oberlin has a reputation for being social justice warriors. A lot of ridiculous stories, a lot of stories out of Oberlin College. One was that the Oberlin College students banded together several years ago, and they demanded that the university suspend midterms, no more midterms, the students demanding the school, and that no one can get less than a C. Like you can't get an F or a D. You can only get an A, B, or C. And I want to tie that idea to socialism. These students are saying, regardless of how we perform, regardless of how hard we work, we get paid with a passing grade, even though we might deserve an F, even though we never showed up for class, even though we flunked all the tests, even though we never turned the papers. Whatever we did, we still get paid. We still get a grade. This is socialism. This is the socialist mindset that had weaved its way into the student body. This is, most of this was happening starting in 2014. These students were saying, we don't really have to work. We don't have to do schoolwork to get a good grade, which is the same socialist argument. We don't have to work, no matter how hard we work. no matter whether we work at all, we work a little bit, we do a bad job, good job, we still get paid. This is a socialist mission of the radical left in this country and around the world, is to divorce the connection between hard work and reward. It's a socialist mission. Secondly, there's a track record of the Oberlin students. In fact, one person who wrote about it called it the cultural rot of Oberlin. There was a track record of students shoplifting in the community of Oberlin. Shoplifting was rampant. Shoplifting was, among Oberlin students, so consequential, they acted, and the term one person used, they acted as predators on the larger community. They acted like, we're here, you have money, we want things, and you need to just give them to us. Just give us what we need. This is, again, I want to tell the kinds of behavior that Oberlin was apparently aware of and tolerating. The number of arrests of Oberlin students in the community. In fact, I don't have it handy, but the percentage of people arrested in the Oberlin community who were Oberlin college students was something like 72%. I mean, kids were going to town shoplifting and getting caught. Now I want to go back to how Oberlin defended itself in this litigation. Again, this ties to socialism. Oberlin's answer to why they defended the students who were shoplifting. They're saying Gibson's Bakery, this is the Oberlin College statement to the New York Times. Gibson's Bakery's archaic chase and detain policy regarding suspected shoplifters was the catalyst for the protests. The guilt or innocence of the students is irrelevant to both the root cause of the protests and to this litigation. The college is okaying shoplifting. They're saying, well, it doesn't really matter what they did, whether they shoplifted, they didn't shoplift. We're just mad because someone had the audacity, one of the clerks at Gibson's had the audacity to chase this kid down and say, you're not leaving, you just tried to shoplift. This mindset of Oberlin that has students rampantly shoplifting in town, has Oberlin in litigation after the public being aware of how they conduct themselves. Oberlin's message through the New York Times was, this is archaic. It's archaic that a store would possibly defend itself when students shoplift. And here's my last tie on this, or maybe my next to last tie on socialism. When you teach students that the ideological root, the economic root, the moral roots of socialism is simply greed. It is coveting. It is planting the seed in the minds of people. You deserve other people's stuff, and you deserve it for free. When you're taught that, when you get that mindset from the left-wing academia in this country, Oberlin and others, that it is wrong that people are rich, it's wrong that stores have things that you want, it's wrong that you can't afford things that you want to have, you're legitimizing kids shoplifting. And these aren't kids, I'm sorry, young adults, they're in college. Shoplifting, the shoplifting, rampant, whatever you want to call it, the epidemic of shoplifting at Oberlin is tied to that socialist mentality that tells people, go ahead and steal things. It's not right that you don't have everything you want right now. It's all right. You go ahead and go take it because you really kind of deserve it. That is what Oberlin has taught these kids, this and not just Oberlin, but the socialist mindset that we're going to talk more and more about in the show. And we're going to end with Bernie Sanders again in his whack job speech he did last week at George Washington University, where he's telling people that what freedom means is you should have whatever you need, whether you can afford it or not. Everything should be given to you. That is Bernie Sanders' argument. That's the argument of socialism. That's an underlying mindset in the Oberlin adventure. There were a lot of other there are a lot of other statistics related to Oberlin and the behavior of their students. I guess I can't regale you with all of them. But actually one good thing that got in during the trial, it was a great thing for Gibson's Bakery. Oberlin College tried to keep out of they tried to block as evidence in the trial, when Gibson's Bakery is suing Oberlin, Oberlin College tried to keep out of the trial the fact that at Gibson's Bakery, their arrest record for students for shoplifting was not at all proof of racial profiling. In fact, proof of exactly the opposite. At Gibson's Bakery, 40 were arrested for shoplifting in the previous year. That's a lot. What are these kids doing anyway? They're at college. They have everything they need there. But okay, Gibson's Bakery, 40 arrested, 32 were white. 80% of them were white. 6 were African American. 15%. 2 were Asian. 5%. Pretty much matching the city's racial makeup. There wasn't even a factual basis for the argument that Gibson's Bakery was engaged in racial profiling. But the real kind of harm to America out of the Oberlin case, at least as it's been handled so far by the Oberlin administration, is they're still telling these students, you shouldn't have been arrested just because you stole. You're entitled to make a completely false smear job accusation against a local business, try to drive it out of business, try to prevent people from shopping there just because you were embarrassed that you got arrested. You don't have to have facts on your side. You don't have to have truth on your side because you feel that way, because you felt that way, because you look at this and you're kind of embarrassed for the students. Then you can just let this go. This, my friends, was so egregious. And so far, the Oberlin County jury has really, Oberlin is in Lamar County, whatever it's called, the county where Oberlin College is. The county is made up of jurors who are Heartland America, who are sitting looking at this administration, presenting witnesses, saying idiocies such as, the whole problem was that they chased him down. And they had the administrator who was accused saying basically, well, I just want to encourage them to understand their free speech rights and to be active expressing their free speech rights. So your free speech right to make a protest based on a lie and protest outside of a business with the goal of closing it, that administrator is claiming that constitutes good leadership by Oberlin. Folks, this is a great story, a great case, and maybe a great opportunity for Oberlin and other colleges to rethink how they approach their student body. Like, as one of the lawyers for Gibson's Bakery said afterwards, basically had a statement saying, what really the message to Oberlin is it's time for the grown-ups to be in charge again. It's time to stop agreeing that these 18 to 22-year-old students have any say in how Oberlin's run. 18 to 20-year-old students get to decide to engage in this and not only that the school didn't intervene in any way, they encouraged it. They viewed it as they were enabling them to express their First Amendment rights. This, my friends, is a great case for America. Oberlin apparently is going to appeal. I hope they do, because I do think, I don't know what they're thinking, what jury, maybe some liberal appellate court judge will find some technical reason to reverse it. But these plaintiffs had their day in court. America has seen the inner workings of the Oberlin College administration. This is a great day for truth to begin to have the light of truth shine at Oberlin, and really for the American people to recognize the crazy that has invaded America's college campuses.